Hello, it's Chris here from Informed. In this video, I'm going to show you the basics of how to get started with our platform. So on the left-hand side here, if I go to inform.software and click on the admin login, this will take me to my portal. Now you should have a specific user and password for your admin login on the left-hand side. On the right hand side, in this case, I've got an Android device. I can go to the Play Store and do a search for Inform software, open the app up, and you can see I have a list of apps ready to go in there. Now typically you'd use your email address and password to log in there, and again we can help you get those started. Now in my web portal, we can create apps. For example, there's a health and safety inspection, there's a proof of delivery, there's a few other ones. If I wanted to build a new app, and I'll call this maybe a utility survey, I click on the update button. This takes me into my app builder menu. Down the left hand side, we have a list of items we call controls. So for example, if I wanted my user to enter text or numbers, I could take one of these. There's drop down lists, there's multiple choices, there's a bit of structure, and then there's access to other features of the device, such as taking a photograph or maybe capturing a customer signature. And then we do a bunch of other things like scanning barcodes and integrating with data and calculations. But to start with, I'd normally always use a section, and I drag that over and I drop it in the middle here, and I can rename this to be maybe my job information. If I click show in menu, this will create a shortcut to this particular section on my app, which is probably quite a useful thing to do. And then maybe here simply I can say take a text field. Now when I drag this, you can see the white area highlight, and wherever that is where it's going to land. So give that a little bit of practice. In this case, I want this text field to land inside my section, and I'll rename the prompt to be customer name. I can give it a character limit. I can make sure it's mandatory by saying it's not optional. As an example, I can take maybe a date and time, and maybe I can put the date instead. I can choose the appropriate option in there. Now, every time a user submits something from their app, we capture the date, time, username, and location if the user shared that. But maybe you want the user to be able to choose what date they did the survey. So that could be yesterday as an example. I'll put a multiple choice. We tend to use a lot of them, and in this multiple choice, I'll put something like survey type, and this could be a gas survey or an electric survey, just as an example, or maybe both. Now I've done that, so I can show you how rules work. So I can add another section down the bottom, and again, just make sure you land that in the right place. And maybe this section will be called the gas section. Now, if the guy on survey type hits gas, then you want this section to appear. So I can put a condition on any item, whether it's a section or one of these controls. So I can say show the gas section, and I can add a rule in here which says when the survey type is equal to gas, like that. Now anything within the section will appear when the user types gas. Within my multiple choice, I can put, maybe there's question one around, whatever the question is, and that could have perhaps a yes, a no, a not applicable answer, something like that. I can duplicate that with a button there, and maybe that's question two. Often you might say if a user types no, then prompt the user for some more information on there. So what I can do is take maybe a text field, carefully place it under question 2. I'll call it question 2 more information. I can put a rule on that, show it when question 2 is equal to no. So very quickly you can see I can then build up a whole section of all the gas questions and measurements, and maybe put a number in there. I could get someone to enter gas pressure in millibars. I can have decimal places and all those kind of things. Maybe I can take my gas section, zip it up here. I could duplicate that. I can call it my electric section. I can change the rule on it. And so very quickly I've now built up the beginnings of a nice dynamic looking survey here. I can add another section which is often at the end. Maybe we call this the sign off. And within there, maybe I want to get my customer to sign. I can put a signature in there, call it customer signature. Maybe get a photograph as well. So I can go down to my camera control and put a site photo in there. If I come at the top here, so a text is for a single line of text, whereas a note is for multiple lines of text. So maybe there could be some general comments. So very quickly I've built myself a nice compact little survey here. If I click on the pencil at the top here, this is quite an important menu which has a whole bunch of other parameters. So have a dig around there. You can see, for example, when I create my PDF report, maybe I want the color. If the answer is no, then make the color red as an example. That's a common one we use. I can change the text. If you always want to email the results to a certain mailbox, I can put a fixed email address in there, or you can put multiple email addresses in there. So every time someone sends it through on their app, this email box will get sent the data. If I click yes to this item here, then every time someone sends something, the user email address that they use to log in with will get a copy of the report as well. We've got some other options here. Have a look through those where you might want to link in with third-party systems or SharePoint. But as a starting point, I can now exit the editor on the top right. I've published version 1.0 of my utility survey, and you'll note I can roll back to previous versions if there was an issue with that. I can choose my user group, so maybe my company is split into field sales, field service, different departments. I can make sure that when my user logs in, they're only seeing the apps that are relevant to them. I can give it an icon by clicking on this button here, and I'll choose just an icon. You can upload your own pictures in there as well. Now if I go onto my device here and I click on the little sync button here, you'll see that then syncs with the server, and my utility survey is now available online here. So I can put my customer name, I can enter my survey date, I can make it gas, so that shows the gas section. Electric does similar. You remember then for question 2, if I say yes, that's fine. If it's no, it prompts me for more information, which I can enter in there. I can enter my gas pressure and eventually come to the sign off section where I can sign it off. Maybe take a photograph of my item, put some general comments in. Perhaps I've started this out in the field, so I can save this as a draft. That then, assuming I've got connectivity to the outside world, you can see saves it in my drafts on my app. So if I go back on my website, so maybe I've using a small device captured the key information and photographs. Back in the office, I can go back to inform.software and now click on the web app link. And if I log in using the same credentials that I did here, you can see if I sort it by date, my utility survey is now available on my web app. Or if you notice in my drafts menu here, I can then pick up the draft. Now I'm in the comfort of my computer with a full screen, and I can maybe add comments. I can add my comments in, basically complete my job, click submit, which will send this through to the Inform cloud. So if I look here and I click on the reporting menu, you can see then a utility survey was completed by this user, this date and time. My location will get updated if I allowed that from where I was. I can drill down, I can see here, there's the data that I entered. I can also, in my reporting menu, I can take a copy of the app name and I can go report by app type. And I can very quickly find that particular app. And now I can extract that data in all sorts of formats. So in the real world, there potentially be hundreds of thousands of these reports or transactions coming in over a period of time. I can extract this data in various flavors. And in other videos, I'll show you how we can build maybe integration jobs or lookup data to complete these types of applications. But for now, hopefully that's an introduction as to how we can create and build and roll out applications very quickly using Informed.